Dr. Gill on the line.
Yes, this is Dr. Gill. Good afternoon.
Do we have Dr. Gill?
Yes.
Is this the doctor that was in Atlanta protesting the CDC's lying?
That is correct.
Oh, thank you for calling in.
Thank you. What questions might you have? And thank you for giving me this opportunity to get the word out that Ebola is coming to America and the CDC has been sugarcoating it, or they're terribly derelict in duty and not predicting it.
So, Dr. Gill, obviously you hit the headlines yesterday. We have an article, doctor protests CDC by showing up at Atlanta airport in hazmat gear. CDC is lying. What was the first example of CDC incompetence in the aftermath of this Ebola outbreak that really raised your suspicions to the fact that they might be being dishonest about this situation?
It's happened the last few months. Any practitioner can connect the dots. There are 1 million people on the continent of Africa that are quarantined. 10,000 people leave West Africa a day. It's a matter of time before every third world country is seeded with this terribly deadly disease. They also share infrastructure of health that is in shambles, poor sanitation and distrust of the government, every country to the south of us. And once it becomes endemic in third world countries, as it will in Africa, we will be importing these cases on an hourly basis. Sure, we can tamp down this. We can stomp this Ebola out in Dallas. I have no question at all this cluster we're going to take care of. But what happens? It's already outstretched the ability of the Texas Health Department to respond, and they're flying people from the CDC. But what happens when a dozen of these pop up? The CDC still doesn't have it. They say if another one shows up, it's when another shows up.
So let's play the video, if we have it, of the doctor at the airport yesterday. You showed up with, obviously, the hazmat suit on CDC is lying. What was the reaction you received from the TSA officials, the other airport officials there at the airport in Atlanta yesterday?
TSA was most cordial. I had met with them the day before. I'd flown from Guatemala through international concourse and customs and immigration. Mind you, no thermal scannings going on, despite what the CDC told USA Today yesterday.
Yes.
But the reaction from Delta, I also warned them the day before, but didn't make it up the chain of command. I was able to get all the way to the gate. I did take off the garb for the security, of course, but I did make it all the way to the gate and took off everything, put it in a satchel, carried it onto the plane. I was ready to go. They were ready to close the door, and the Delta officials stormed the plane, jerked me off, took my bags, and said, "We want the gear. We need to confiscate the gear. You're not flying." Well, there was a little bump in the road at the end, but, you know, by the time I sat down that plane before that, I just breathed a great sigh of relief, and thank God we got the message started. American Constitution Journal, they were out there just filming everything and photographing everything because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to have a "don't tase me, bro" moment.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. We started this going viral, and the conversation has begun.
Well, that's very important. Thank you for doing that. And it's that type of event that gets people's attention. So it really was necessary for you to do it in that manner, I think, to get people to listen.
I've been trying to figure out for months how to get the public's attention. We've known these clusters were coming. We had meetings months ago in the Greene County Medical Society, yet Obama came out 2 weeks ago. The very same week it was misdiagnosed in Dallas because our alert was down because the Obama and Freedom from the CDC says a very, very small chance. We knew that is either a lie or they're incompetent.
Yes, yes. What would you like to see happen? What would you suggest that the CDC do?
I wish we could close the borders, but we've been dragging our feet to the south. I wish we could close the borders, make every person coming into the United States have a 3-week isolation period. You know, we're not going to stop this until we catch every single case, and maybe this means thermal scanning everywhere. I don't know. But I'll tell you what we do need to do. We need to get people with fevers out of the hospital now. Because it's showing up, it's going person to person in the United States, and the flu season's coming. And we're not going to be able to tell the difference in the flu. By the way, get your flu shot because you don't want to wind up in quarantine because you have a fever. Get your flu shot. But we don't want to have people showing up to the ERs and coming in contact with the staff, and then all of a sudden we lose that shift. And then somebody else shows up and we lose that shift. The PRN workers get scared and they quit. Next thing we know, we're without healthcare workers. We must remove Ebola from the hospitals. The hospitals are saying they're prepared. I would ask every listener to call their hospital, call their director of nursing, and ask how many spare negative pressure rooms you have. Negative pressure removes the aerosolized hemorrhagic vomit, coughing from the atmosphere, filters it, puts it outside the hospital rather than circulating it to the patient next door. Ask them how many spare negative pressure rooms they have, which is absolutely essential. And they'll probably say 0. We have to work every time we get a level 4 isolation or something like that.
Yeah, I would disagree with you about the flu shot. We've seen a lot of people who come down with the flu after getting the flu, and there's other issues involved with that as well. But could you address for a moment what you think about the way this was handled in terms of the cleanup of the sidewalk, the way they sent guys out there without any protective clothing, pressure washing that days after they knew about this, and then actually it was yesterday they did that, and then today they're just now getting around to cleaning the apartment. Could you address that?
We flew this doctor from West Africa a month ago, and 55 gallons sat outside Emory University Hospital for over a week with the medical waste, wondering what we're going to do with it. You know, they need to be proactive, not crossing this bridge after the fact. Same thing with this family in Dallas. They sat for 3 days in an apartment with blood, urine, feces-soaked mattresses and carpet while the CDC goes, what are we going to do about this now? They should have been proactive, instituted policy, procedures, and implemented them months ago. They've been derelict in their duty. And I point my finger squarely at Frieden and say, it's you, sir, dereliction of duty. Get the ball rolling.
Well, there's still a conflict in terms of transporting this. The CDC is saying that it's okay to what was holding up. They say the cleanup of this apartment was, number one, finding a contractor who wanted to do the job. Number two,
every municipality should work on that contractor right now.
Yes.
Our municipality should be calling the trash in Springfield, Missouri right now, should be calling the trash compact companies and say, who's going to remove our infectious waste? This stuff should have been done months ago, not after we need it.
And the transportation agencies are the ones who are putting the blocks on transporting this stuff on the highway, whereas the CDC says just go with it. That's fine. We're not concerned about that. Now, at Emory, they had some industrial autoclaves that they eventually brought on site to get rid of the medical waste. Is that correct?
I understand there was several days of intense negotiation with waste management companies, and they worked out something. I don't know the details.
Well, you're right. They need to be proactive on this. But instead, what we've seen is them reacting several days after these things occur, letting children continue to go to school, allowing people to walk across the sidewalk where this patient was violently vomiting days before.
Aerosolizing the vomit with a power washer. Oh, my God.
Yes, yes.
How could the news every day not get any worse? I understand there's a suspected Ebola patient in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yes.
We'll be back with more from Dr. Gil Mobley after the break. He was the doctor who staged the anti-CDC protest at Atlanta Airport yesterday. Final segment of the Alex Jones Show live coming up. Stay tuned. Infowars.com. Keep it locked in. Final segment of the Alex Jones Show on this Friday edition live. Again, very important to keep a healthy immune system. Infowarslife.com has the new stock of Silver Bullet. Many of you have been waiting for this to come back in stock. Concentrated to a powerful 30 parts per million, triple the strength of many other colloidal silver products. And it's free of GMOs, gluten additives, which you will find in a lot of the other products on the market. That's Silver Bullet, available exclusively at Infowarslife.com, just back in stock. Now we're talking to Dr. Gil Mobley, who yesterday hit the headlines for his anti-CDC protest, saying that the CDC is asleep at the wheel with this Ebola outbreak. Dr. Mobley, now we're getting reports out of Liberia that people are flooding the airports there trying to get into the United States for treatment. We had comments from one of the co-workers of the Ebola victim in Dallas who said that he had entered America in a, quote, desperate attempt to survive. Do you think we're going to see a wave of Ebola tourism in light of this incident?
Well, yes, we will. And I'll mind you and mention to you that I came through International Customs returning from a medical mission trip in Guatemala just Wednesday evening, day before yesterday. And despite what USA Today said on the front page yesterday that we're doing thermal screening at airports, we are not at Hartsfield International Airport, the busiest airport in the world. No one asked where I was. No one asked if I had been sick. No one asked if I had a fever, and there was no thermal scanning. The CDC is asleep at the wheel, and there have been dereliction of duty, and I point my finger squarely at Dr. Frieden and say, dereliction of duty, sir. Get the ball on rolling.
It seems to be a pretty pervasive ignorance, because this article that we have up on Infowars.com about Sheriff's Office officers are fearful after being ordered into the apartment where this Ebola patient was staying in Dallas. The amazing thing to me is not only did they order these 5 deputies to go there, but they were joined by a doctor and the head of the Dallas County Health and Human Services Department. I mean, I just don't understand. Is it because the CDC is telling people not to worry about any of this?
They need to do whatever they can to avoid panic. Panic will just, but not lie or sugarcoat, but panic will cause irrational actions. We need to have frank, honest talk. Right now, either they're just omitting it or they're just lying. The fact that these clusters are going to overwhelm our capacity to handle them.
Yeah, but clearly there's the head of the Health and Human Services Department and a doctor who are accompanying these officers in the apartment that had not been cleaned. It had bedding, it had blankets that had been in direct contact with this patient who had been vomiting, had severe diarrhea, all these symptoms where he's losing bodily fluid. It's in the apartment. They haven't cleaned it, and yet these people don't seem to be aware of the threat that poses to them.
And why is this? It's because the CDC has been asleep at the wheel. We should have had policies, procedures implemented long ago. This epidemic has been ravaging West Africa for a half a year. And we're just now scratching our heads, wondering, what do we do about this blood-soaked mattress? What do we do about the 55-gallon containers outside Emory? We're past due.
Yes. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for our guest, Dr. Gil Mobley. We'll continue to track your protest against the CDC. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for helping us get the word out, sir.
Thank you. That's going to wrap it up for the show today. Alex Jones, of course, will be back on Sunday. Thanks for David Knight joining me in studio. Latest Ebola news is breaking at Infowars.com, of course, throughout the day. And again, get the products, InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com for all the great health products. In these toxic times, the best thing to do is to keep your immune system boosted, performing at full capacity. I've been your host, Paul Joseph Watson. Again, Alex will be back on Sunday, and we'll be back for the Monday show live. Infowars.com is where you'll get all the breaking news on Ebola.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars